coffee on Saturday.
Coffee on Saturday morning. Welcome to the wrap. It's the first day of March. The madness is now truly upon us.
It really is.
And so I don't forget, and maybe I'll say it again at the end of the show, happy 50th anniversary to George and Sue yesterday. Congratulations.
We always remember that because it's the 28th day of February, and so I can't confuse it except the one every 4 years. And so, but we went out, we had a real nice dinner, and then this is how good the marriage has survived. We went up and drank champagne and watched wrestling. So it was.
We were discussing before we started the show, Jen and I, that the party went to the solarium, and what was being drunk? Well, we weren't sure. Now we know. So. And wrestling.
And wrestling, yeah. So I think that she's a good sport.
She's a very good sport.
Yeah. And on top of that, we will be watching the semis as soon as we get done here.
Yeah, we got to get rolling along here. Yeah. No screwing around, because George has got to get to watch wrestling, and I got to get to a basketball game. So noon start for a JV game. That's early on a Saturday morning. So
it is.
We got to rock and roll. Tell me about high school wrestling. I only have one thing, but I watched a little bit on Thursday. But tell me what's good and bad.
Well, it's one of the things where we have three divisions, and just start with the teams. St. Michael Albertville, 37-0. They dominated, and they had a real good Shakopee team, and just kind of took them apart. And it's hard for me to remember a team that was that substantial in high school for 12 weights. They really were good. And then the second one, and I just want to stop there a little bit, the Watertown Mayor, Watertown Mayor Lutheran, they have a couple of boys. They have a guy named Titan, and the other guy's name is Joe. And these guys are really good. They come from a legacy. Their uncle, Ty Fredericks, was one of the best wrestlers the state ever produced, 3-time state champion out of Osseo, Drug Mueller's country up there. And these twins, 37-0 apiece. One might be 38-0. And so they're going to be wrestling in the finals. But again, totally dominant. They have a stepbrother who wrestles at 185. He's 40-0. So between this one family, and this is TJ Frederick's family, I mean,
it's like 115-0.
Yeah, you got a pretty good foundation for a team. And Watertown, they took apart Case and Manorville, and Case and Manorville, they were kind of favorites. They had a really good team going in, and so you sit around and you watch that, and those three came in, took care of business. They have several other. I mean, some of these teams' records are just phenomenal. And then the single A. Now I've been waiting for the single A all the time because Staples it was one of the contenders, and Chatfield was the number one ranked team all year long. And so I know a lot of people down in Staples, and they went off and again, the first three weights, they totally dominated. They were up 18-0. And Chatfield, no matter how good a team they had, and they have a very fine team, they just couldn't come back from that. And Staples won their first title. Might be their first title ever. They've been in championship games before. They've had a ton of state champions. But my friend Jerry Cleveland was calling the game. He's a Staples coach and a Staples graduate.
I bet he wasn't excited at all.
Big. What he said, something. This was a big match, and he's been calling games for so long, and he's so smooth and cool. And he says he run him out of bounds. He's even in the wrong circle. So you sit around, and I listen to Jerry. I was running around and doing things, and I turned the sound up really good just to hear his voice, because calling a wrestling match, it's a little bit different than calling balls and strikes, and it's.
Yeah, I listened a little bit to the wrestling, and whoever I was watching Grand Rapids and Simley, the first round of the 2A on Thursday morning, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing this.
Yeah.
At my computer, and then turn over and watch for a few seconds. There was one match. The kid's name from Grand Rapids is Jack Wolf, I think.
Jack Wolf, yeah.
Jack Wolf was getting his butt kicked. He was in big trouble. He was, for about 45 seconds, and I'm going to go on a guesstimate, he was on his back and never got pinned and came back and got a pin himself. I'm in my office freaking out. I can't imagine what everybody else will say. What the heck is he doing in there? But it was a great match, and Grand Rapids lost in the quarterfinals, 34-33.
Yeah, that was really, really tight. It was an owie, and I watched it from beginning to end. The one kid on this Grand Rapids team that really impressed me is Christian Jelly.
Okay.
You know, he's 139. He's got 48 wins, 48 or 49 wins. He's just one of those total dominant wrestlers. In fact, all the ones that I'm going to mention today, they take control of the match. They cut down the mat. They know the area they want to hunt in, and they go right to work. And you know, they start the match. They don't fiddle around with a head grab or anything like that. Bam, legs. Bam, legs. The thing of it is, and you brought this up before, they now get 3 points for a takedown, and I was listening to coaches talk, and he says this is really kind of changing things because, you know, for one thing, a 3-point takedown, you get 2 or 3 of those, and you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And the other thing is if you're good on your feet, this is a pretty good advantage. And there's a difference between a mat wrestler and a leg rider and a guy that works on his feet. Some people do them all real well. But you can concentrate on your feet and be very, very competitive wrestler with a 3-point takedown. So it works out real well. And I watch these wrestlers now. They don't take a break. They just bam, bam, bam. They just have a machine gun attack that's really quite amazing.
Okay, so from that statement, is it making wrestling more exciting? And I'm asking that so that the casual fan will watch it on TV more than rather than maybe having a cult following, if I can use that bad terminology, I guess. No. I don't know. And I mean, okay, let's take curling. I love curling because of the strategy and everything that goes into it. But they're always tweaking the game, trying to find a way to make it more exciting, to keep more rocks in place so that they're scoring, so there are, you know, so they're not blank ends, because that's no fun to watch. It's like watching a 0-0 hockey game. Sometimes it's not fun to watch. So keep talking.
Okay, no, the thing is about wrestling is, I think 40 years ago when I started coaching, they were trying to make catch hand wrestling more like freestyle. And so everybody started concentrating on the feet. And in fact, when I would go to clinics and go into wrestling rooms, I was mostly interested in what I could teach from the feet. It was easier for me to coach mat wrestling. It can be very complicated. It takes years to develop, and some guys are really good at it. I'm not saying we didn't concentrate on mat wrestling. It's just that 75% of the people that get the first takedown are going to win the match. And so you want to be able to be in a situation where you can take your opponent down, and so I concentrated on that. I think I went to one clinic and I talked to a coach, and I bought his book, and he gave me all his technique. I went back and put it in the room, and one wrestler, Tracy Everett, in 3 years went to the state tournament with it. And so, you know, even at that time, I'm not sure that I really understood just how much it was going to change the wrestling match, but it did. And what you see in the 3 points, it does there too. Where you really see the difference is in college, because you know, and I don't want to push the Big Ten tournament next weekend, but because these guys can really take you down and do it repetitively.
Does it make it more freewheeling? Because, you know, when it was only a 2-point takedown, well, if I get taken down and I get 1 point, I'm only 1 point behind. I'm not whatever. But if I get taken down now and I'm 2 points behind when I get out, right. Now it's a little more dire. It's a little more whatever.
And even at that, they get a 3-point takedown. I might get a reversal. Well, that's still only 2
points.
And sometimes reversals are harder to get than takedowns. So
well, that's one thing. Would they make it a 3-point reversal rather than a 2? You know what I mean? To make it equivalent, but
I think they're trying to make adjustments on that on back points, and each year the referees and I mean I watch some guys work. They're just great. And you see them, so they have concentration points each and every year. This year, of course, was the 3-point takedown, and it changes. And my good friend Jerry Cleveland's talking. There's 2. Oh, sorry, 3. He says it's going to take a while for me to get used to that.
After 50 plus years, yeah.
Yeah. So that's
absolutely.
Absolutely. I'll tell you right now, this tournament's exciting. It's packed right up. The kids are just amazing.
I didn't read the paper this morning, but girls wrestling in the boys tournament.
Yes.
Are they there, or did I read that all of them went to the girls tournament?
I don't know. I think all of them might have went to the girls tournament because I watched the beginning of the girls tournament this morning. I didn't see any of them wrestle in any other thing, but I think there was one girl from Northfield, and oh, you done already? We were going to have you on.
I gotta go wake up the basketball player.
She's got to go be a mom, man. That's the way life works.
You have fun.
So.
But I did notice that there was a girl from Northfield today that her opponent was 18-3 in the middle of the first period. So I think that she might have been one.
So. Yeah, like I said, exciting again. It's tournament time. It's March Madness. It's go time. So yeah, I wish I'd had more time to watch more of the wrestling. It just I keep saying every year, next year I will get there. Next year I will get there, and I hope I don't run out of next year.
No, you won't run out of next year. So there's still time. But now, because you have that neighborhood television thing, you can see virtually all the matches, especially in team tournament. And then when it's gone, it's not gone. You can still go back and catch them out. So you can see if you want to put in the time, because wrestling tournaments take a lot of time.
They take a lot of time.
It take a lot of time, but it's going to go on. And as long as we're talking about this, I want to congratulate our good friend Joe Batdorf and his darling daughter Malika. She's in the wrestling this week in the California State Wrestling Tournament. I haven't got results on her, but she's a 116-pounder, and she's lean and she is mean. As Joe says, she's a beast. Well, you see this beast. She could qualify.
That's exactly what a daughter wants to be called by her father.
Yeah,
right?
no,
right?
she could be a model, and I've mentioned many times before, she's a classical pianist. But she's got a great double leg takedown, and we correspond from time to time. He wants to ask about moves and things, and I'm taxing my brain trying to remember them. But hey, we're really proud of you up here in International Falls.
Where do you want to go next?
Anywhere you want to go.
Let's talk basketball then, because with the Timberwolves lost back-to-back nights to the Lakers and Utah on the road. Utah, the worst team in the Western Conference, 14-44 coming into the game, and the Wolves just let them hang around.
So you're telling me the Timberwolves come back from the greatest deficit in team history
on
Monday against the best team conceivably in the league, and they drop it. Now, this is either inconsistent basketball playing on top of the Timberwolves, or it's going to give you a description of how close these teams really are.
Yeah, the loss to the Lakers. The Lakers, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, they're in the top 5 of the Western Conference, so no disgrace losing on the road, but losing at Utah last night, although without Mr. Anthony Edwards, who received his 16th technical foul on Thursday night at LA, which means that he had to serve a 1-game suspension. 16 technicals already this year in like 60 games. That's redonkulous. Sorry.
No. Listen, I prided myself in all the years I coached. I never once got a red flag. I was told to go sit down a couple times, but other than that,
Yeah. So 32-29, the Wolves are now. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a disgruntled fan now. But I'm also disgruntled with the Wild, and so I'm unenthused with the way they came out of the break. Of course, without Kirill, and they're saying there's really no timeline for him to return. This team, if I can change gears with Wild and basketball and whatever, the Wild need a spark, something good to happen, and they need 97 back in the lineup. Or if they don't get him back in the next week or two, they're not making the playoffs.
Well, no, and you know, you take a look at the statistics. He has missed more games this year than he has any other time of his career. He's still leading the team in scoring. And it's kind of like, how do you can't take that stick out of the game and not have repercussions.
Well, and the other part about that is it kind of tells you maybe something about the rest of the team.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Ouch. Where, we've got these guys, Hoon and Strada and blah, 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 Lacau and all these guys that we've picked up for the trade with trades or off waivers, and they're the guys that are leading this team. So I'm puzzled a little bit. But getting back to the Wolves, they just somehow they got to hang on and hope they can get to the playoffs and find a way.
There is starting to be rustles in the wind about the possible trade of Mr. Edwards, and I'm not sure just how that's coming about, and everybody's going to be squawking because he's been sitting down and 16 technicals. In my mind, that's a little immature-ish.
It is.
This is just that's what you're going to be a leader of this team, not with 16 technicals.
I agree. I think you put anything out on the table after Luka Doncic got traded. I can't believe that the Timberwolves would trade away both of their superstars. I can't believe they would trade away Cat and then trade that. I mean, the reason why they traded Cat, I think, was to give Ant the team. And Ant at 23, 22, maybe isn't ready for the mantle. Let's talk Michael Jordan if I can, because we're going to go do that.
Yeah.
Played 4 years at North Carolina, 3 years at North Carolina. So when he became into the NBA, he was 21. Well, at 21, Ant had already played 3 seasons.
He started
so,
right out.
I mean, there's that level of whatever, and we know what Mike did his first 6 years. Never won a playoff series the first 6 years.
No.
I mean, didn't win a championship. Maybe I shouldn't go winning a series because that's going out on a limb. But I know they didn't win a title the first 6 years that he played, and they probably won plenty of playoff series. I should amend that topic. But what I'm trying to say is it even took the great Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, all you LeBron James lovers. Before he won 6 titles in 8 years, he had 6 years of no title.
He did, and he acquired one thing in that time, Scottie Pippen. And this is,
and Dennis Rodman.
I mean, he couldn't carry the Bulls all by himself.
Correct.
Even with all his what part of his game wasn't fantastic? It was all was, but he needed Scottie, and he needed those rebounds from Rodman. Yeah,
absolutely. So
yeah.
Anyway, how about your Gopher men's basketball team? How proud can we?
Well, they're going to play Nebraska at 1:00 this afternoon, and I think for Ben Johnson, this is a must game. Never mind they went on and beat everybody in LA. You got to be able to beat them around here, and they just aren't doing that.
I was listening to somebody the other day, and they said, against the good teams they play up here, against the bad teams they play down here, and there's not. There's nothing in the middle.
They lost to Penn State once. They lost to,
And not that losing to Northwestern is a whatever, but Northwestern didn't have their second leading scorer. All these other things,
and they lost by 10 points.
And they absolutely laid an egg at home.
Yeah,
and they've been begging people to come back and watch and do all these things, and they almost beat Ohio State at home. They beat Michigan at home. They beat Oregon at home. And you start believing that, geez, maybe I should go spend my $40 on that ticket to go watch them. And then they perform like they did the last 2 games at home after going on that LA trip. And you're like,
the crowds were busting a gut to get into that stadium for a reason. I mean, when they played Michigan, they had 8,000 people, 8,000 plus. When they started playing some of these other games, Oregon came in, they had 11,000, almost 12,000 people. So, yeah, people will pay if you're performing, and it's, on top of that, I mean, there is so much confusing situations about money these days. Who's to say who's going to do what? And right now, I'm glad that Dawson Garcia has played this year because it gives us something to shoot at. Ozzie Gazma, if he will stick around, he'll be a Gopher superstar. But right now, it's just so inconsistent play, and it's.
Went and lost to Washington the other day. They play their final regular season game again at Michigan State today, and then the tournament starts on Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
Like said, the madness is here.
It is. And I tell you that the Gopher women are. They've lost some of their best players this year, and
hung in there.
And so I think that they have.
They're 20-9 or 20-10, and they say they're on the bubble to make the tournament.
I think a lot of that is credit to the coaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like, and I said this about Tom Izzo one time. Even Michigan State's mediocre basketball teams are good. And it's just, why is that? Well, Tom Izzo has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, he won at the buzzer the other night. Trey Holloway, a Minnesota native, if I got my names correct, drains a 55-footer to win it at the buzzer. Kind of exciting. Michigan's in first place in the Big Ten.
They are.
Notre Dame in the women's ranks, who was the number one team in the nation, now has lost 2 straight. What?
How does that happen?
Yeah, so
that happen?
And I guess that we talk about this about being tested, going to the tournament. You need to be tested. Well, UCLA women, Notre Dame women, some of these other teams, the men's teams with Alabama and everybody else who's coming through there, they're getting tested, and it should be 2 interesting tournaments. I've said this before. The women's, there's probably only 6 to 8 teams that have a chance to win the title. Realistically, I mean, it's just still that way. With the men, it's probably 20, and who's going to go on a run?
Absolutely, exactly. And when you predict who's going to win football championships, you can put it down to 6, 8, 10 teams max. With basketball, I mean, any one of those 25 can beat you on any given day, and they all have good players or two.
I mean, do you want to take Houston? Do you want to take Tennessee? Do you want to take Alabama? The list goes on, and then I mean, I'm not even going to throw a Big Ten team in there because they still are playing their grind 'em up type of basketball, and we know that that's probably not the way to win the tournament. But Michigan State's going to be in the mix.
Yeah.
Duke is going to be in the mix. I mean, Texas A&M is going to be. I mean, it's crazy what who. We go back to the bracket buster, and how many days is it going to take before ESPN doesn't have any correct brackets? And I'm going to say probably by the end of the. How are you going to predict these things?
You can't.
It's absolutely nuts.
That's a mathematical impossibility.
It's crazy.
But my wife picks her bracket, and she sometimes likes the color of the uniform. I've known people that have picked brackets because they like the school fight song, or the mascot's big. I mean, how many dogs are there going to be in the tournament? So you go pick your dog. I mean, and it's probably just as predictable as those of us that'll pick a bracket that follow it all year long. And so, it's strange, wonderful thing.
It's strange stuff. NSIC tournament, men's and women's, started this past week. The Bulldogs and all the rest of those Bemidji States and that. It's going to be on. If you've got Midco, you're going to get to watch. You get to watch the whole tournament on Midco. I don't know necessarily that I'm going to get to watch a whole bunch, but hoping to watch a little. The Bulldogs teams both lost on Wednesday night in the opening round, and the men at home, a number 6 seed against a number 11, never were in the game, and sounds like they could still make the region tournament. They were ranked in the top 10 in the nation in the early part of the season, and have kind of faltered down the stretch.
Well, they have, and there are times that I saw them. They played really well. They played really well against Denver. They played real well against North Dakota. I mean, they actually can do the thing. They played well against Colorado.
They took on the last place team in Miami last night at home.
Yeah.
Miami has not won since October. 4 months they haven't won a game. 4 months in college hockey they haven't won a game. And the Bulldogs had to pull it out of the fire and win in overtime. They gave up the tying goal, UMD did, with about 2 minutes left, 2.5 minutes left, and then won it in overtime to win 3-2 to keep that streak going. The Bulldogs, the NCHC, they've got one more week of the regular season next week, and Bulldogs will probably end up playing at Arizona State. And the TV commentators last night were saying that would be the best fit of the top 4 teams that are there. The Bulldogs would probably match up best against Arizona State. So let's all jump in a plane. Well, let's drive because I don't trust a plane right now. Let's jump in the car. Let's drive to Arizona. Anyway, if that happens. We're on spring break. Come on, baby. We gotta go.
Hey, I'm getting pressure to go down to Tennessee to watch a baseball game.
Hell, let's go. Come on. What the heck? Wild. Again, they're 15 points behind Winnipeg now in the standings. They were ahead 2.5 months ago. They were ahead of Winnipeg. They're behind by 15. They're third. That whole thing about missing the playoffs, I'm dead serious. That if they don't get Kirill back sooner rather than later, the playoffs will be gone. They won't even make the playoffs.
Well, you have to score goals in order to win the game. It's no matter how many saves you got, you better put a couple in, and so that's just not happening.
So the Bulldogs go to overtime last night. We were watching that. Eli and I are sitting in the basement watching that and pretty excited when the Bulldogs win, of course. And then you flip one notch on the TV, just one click, and there's Gophers and Penn State. And Penn State's maybe the hottest team in college hockey right now.
How can that be?
I know. Took down Michigan State 5 out of 6 points last week. Last night they're playing the Gophers at Penn State in Happy Valley, and Penn State scores late in the hockey game to tie it to get it to overtime. So we go from overtime to overtime with one click of the channel, and then Penn State wins and beats the Gophers. Well, the basement couldn't have been happier. Let me just say, the Bulldogs winning and the Gophers losing. Oh, there it is. Let's go. I told Eli, turn the TV off. We're going to bed. We can't get any better than that. Forget it. Doesn't matter what else is on TV. Let's go to bed, and we did.
I just remember being down in Minneapolis one time with the entire UMD football team at one end of the arena, and my good friend Ronnie Beck was in the net, and the Gophers had all kinds of guys from the Falls, and UMD had all kinds of guys from the Falls. Nobody messed with Ronnie Beck at that end of the rink when the football team was there, and it's just it was quite an impressive thing. But that's when you realize that Bulldogs should always beat Gophers in hockey.
Always. Of course, high school hockey tournament, state hockey tournament coming up this next week.
Well, there have been some upsets there already.
Yeah. So did you watch Hibbing and Cloquet, Esco, Carleton, Hibbing, Chisholm? I should get them all in there.
I caught part of it. Yeah.
Did you watch the post game show?
No.
Oh. So did you hear that was probably the biggest part of it. It wasn't that Hibbing's going back to the state hockey tournament for the first time in. I don't need. Somebody out there is going to correct me. I'm going to say first time Hibbing's gone to the state hockey tournament in 15 years. Something like that. I think since 11 it could be. Anyway, of course they're interviewing the 9th grader, the TV station interviewing the 9th grader here, Whitaker Rewards. What do you think of the team from Cloquet? And they flip the microphone over to him, and what does he say? They're a great team. Oops, 9th grader.
Attaboy.
Right on TV. So that's probably got more talk than Hibbing going to the state tournament.
I didn't know 9th graders talk like that.
Yeah, so anywho, I didn't realize that they had this many 9th graders, because 9th graders usually play Bantams.
Yeah.
They move these kids up to play, and some of the 9th and 10th graders are the ones that are leading this team for Hibbing. If you go look at the QRF, it's very interesting, and I'm going to spoil it for you, because of course all the teams are picked for Class A, but they got them all listed from 1 through 70, whatever it is, the Class A teams there are, and they've got who's eliminated. Well, the top 4 teams in the QRF are eliminated. Cloquet, Esco, Carleton, Hermantown, War Road got beat by East Grand Forks.
That was
Kevin Grover a little excited about that, I suspect.
They had a picture.
I can't remember who the 4th team was that was above. So there you've got, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot. Anyway, Hibbing was the 6th ranked team. Well, they're the 2nd highest ranked team. I think it's Matabidi maybe. That's 5th. Anyway, doesn't matter. So Hibbing, who was the 3rd seed in the Section 7A tournament, could be the number 1 seed, and the seeds are going to come out. Well, they might have already come out. It's after 10 o'clock. I don't necessarily see a tweet on. No, I don't see anything.
What about all your friends over at Rock Ridge?
I would say a disappointing finish. Didn't necessarily play great on Saturday against Duluth Marshall. Everybody told me they took too many penalties. Andover came out and scored early in the game and really seemed to take control of the game after Rockridge tied it. We kind of sucked the game back in, and so Andover, who's been there plenty of times going to the state tournament, as a number 3 seed. It just so happens again in Section 7 that the number 3 seed out of the section is going to the state tournament. So Rockridge still has their time. They still have lots of very good hockey players.
They do.
And so sometimes you got to keep making a step, and I'm sure it's very disappointing to lose. Cloquet Esco Carleton was ranked number 1 in the state, 1 or 2 in the state almost the entire year in the QRF.
What I'm hearing you saying, you've got Rock Ridge, you got Hibbing, you got Cloquet, you got Hermantown, you got Grand Rapids. Is hockey coming back to the north or what?
I think there's always there's going to be some good teams. I think it's spreading. Hibbing is going to be phenomenal for the next. I'm serious about this 9th and 10th graders. Literally, and I'm saying this, and I don't know, maybe I'm out of my brain. Hibbing is now the favorite to win the section title for the next 2 or 3 years. Not Hermantown. Hibbing.
Who's coaching Hibbing?
Is it Aaron Jamnik? Jamnik's the last name. I think it's Aaron. I got to get it straight in my brain. I think it's Aaron is his first name. It's not Adam. It's Aaron, I think. It does start with an A. So took over the program a couple of years ago, and obviously Hibbing is 2 years ago won the Pee Wee State and the Bantam State, and so that just tells you
right up the ladder, doesn't it?
So it just keeps piling up. Yeah. So again, that puts Hermantown on alert. It puts every Class A team in northeastern Minnesota on alert as far as that goes. So we'll see what happens. I would be very surprised, and that's being honest, if Hibbing doesn't 3 or 4-peat for the section title over the next 3 or 4 years. I think it would be a major upset if they didn't.
Well,
even though Hermantown can draw from all those, all that talent from Duluth and bringing kids in and people wanting to play in Hermantown. Hibbing for the next couple of years might be having the people move in because they all might want to play for Hibbing.
We saw a fairly respectable Proctor team as well. And so
and got bombarded by Cloquet 7-2 in the semifinals. I mean, that just shows you. And like I said, I'm not trying to be whatever here. That just shows you how far. I mean, you got to. There's. Broncos had a great year, but there's still lots. There's still lots to do, and they'll continue to work at doing that. That's all I'm trying to say. That.
Actually, the Broncos, they got a couple of young people there that are going to be performing well.
They'll be all right.
Well.
Yes.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, I think they got the Bantam A team is playing in the regions.
Yeah.
Won last night over Andover by a final score of 3-1. So they're in the semifinals. Matter of fact, they just got started as I look at the clock about 15 minutes ago. Playing this morning against Proctor. It said in the bracket, but the score showed that Hibbing won. So I'm not sure who it is.
Was that down in
Coleraine they're playing today. So I think the Bronco hockey teams, the Bantams are doing well. The Pee Wees got knocked out in the districts, and we'll see. The 12U girls team has had a very good season. They played last night in their region tournament.
I know a couple of those girls are kind of mean, so they'll pick it up.
Did they get that from their fathers or their mothers?
Both. I'm thinking about the Peterson girls.
Yes, they'll be coming soon. Yes. WC, as long as we're talking hockey, WCHA women's tournament got started this weekend. UMD had to come back and win 3-2 at Amsoil yesterday afternoon over St. Cloud State, and then the Bulldog men won 3-2 in overtime. Anyway,
a lot of hockey going down in Duluth.
A lot of hockey going down in Duluth, and then of course Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio State. They're playing Mankato, Bemidji State, and St. Thomas, and I'm sorry if they win one of those games out of the 3 that they're playing, but it will be hopefully UMD and then Minnesota, Ohio State,
Wisconsin. As long as you just bring it up, St. Thomas has done a pretty good job in the few years to bring up that hockey program to be competitive with the rest.
Yeah, I think they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
I think there's enough women's hockey talent out there and men's hockey talent, to be honest with you, that they can get out there and get after it, and they've got the money to do it, and
they've got the money to do it.
That's unfortunately part of the calling card there.
Yeah.
Loons lost 1-0 last Saturday in the season opener, 78th minute. They host Montreal tonight, or they're supposed to host Montreal tonight at 7:30 at Allianz Stadium in St. Paul. I haven't heard. I didn't look this morning to see. It wasn't canceled yesterday. You know how cold it is here this morning, Georgia. It was 1 degree by my car on the way out to the fabulous Rainier Muni, and yeah, it's a bit chilly. I would imagine in the cities. Maybe it's going to get to 30, 35 today. So I don't know what the plan is, but
well, I think they could probably play when it's 35 degrees. That one time they were playing, it was
in the snow.
Yeah, and then they brought in a team from Nicaragua or someplace, and they were freezing to death. It's
sorry, that's just the way things work.
Yeah, that's just the way.
Anyway, they're hosting Montreal. We'll see what happens. Travis Kelce said he's coming back. Can't end my career on a game like that, but it won't be with Kansas City.
It won't?
I don't think so.
Oh,
too much money. If he wants to do it,
too much money.
He costs too much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be with somebody else. Unless, and I'll say this, Matthew Stafford just restructured his contract with LA to stay with the Rams, to stay in fabulous Los Angeles. If Kelce reworks his contract where he's only making, I'm going to throw out a third, because the Kansas City can't afford it. A third of what he's making now, they'll let him stick around, and if they want to pay him out for a few years, extend his contract, rework it, give him part of the franchise. I don't know.
Well, if he needs a team to come play for, I can find one. But the Vikings, I understand, are looking for a premier running back. And I'm not sure, but I think they're looking to draft one. And so I think that's going to be one of their top goals, is to get tops. And this is a fat running back class.
Are you trying to keep that pressure on that this is going to turn and become a running back thing again?
Yeah, listen.
We haven't drafted. Nobody's drafted a running back in the first round for
If you didn't see Shaquan Barkley work last year, I like that. I like that one where he vaults over the defender backwards. We want one like that.
That shouldn't be jumping over people in football. You can get hurt. You can get hurt. I don't care frontwards or forwards. Neither one. Backwards, rotating counterclockwise, clockwise. You shouldn't be jumping over people. Do you know that helmet is very hard, and that if you take it in a certain area, it hurts really bad?
That defender is still out there looking for his jock. It just But I think a real solid running game these days is essential. It's essential because the ends are collapsing on the quarterback so fast. I mean, they used to say, "Give me 3 seconds and I get the ball released." They're not getting 3 seconds. They're getting a second and a half, 2 seconds before somebody 6'6" is up in the air trying to smack your head. And it's
so you're trying to convince me that it's the running back. It's not the 5 fat guys up front blocking. Have you drank the Kool-Aid? Have you gone to the dark side?
You gotta have.
Saquon Barkley's got one of the best offensive lines in the freaking league. That's why he looks so good.
Offensive linemen like doing one thing: drive blocking. And so I think that you can take a good offensive line and turn that into a running team.
I want to see the Vikings get serious about drafting a guard.
Well, they will
not draft somebody in the 5th round or the 6th round. I want to see them get serious and draft somebody. I know you don't draft guards in the 1st round. I know that's not what you do. Okay, but 2 in the 2nd round. Let's get somebody who's really good that we can put in. And let's complete this line. Let's get Cleveland back over on the left-hand side. Let's get a couple of guards. We got our 2 tackles. Let's get a couple of guards, and let's make this son of a gun happen. And we can put me in the backfield, and we'll run the football.
Oh, yeah, Chicago. That might be
okay. So the NFL Combine is happening.
Do you watch that?
I have not watched it, and that's not to say that I wouldn't watch it, but I hardly had time to watch hockey last night, much less put the Combine on. Here's a couple of things. The Combine used to be where you showcased yourself.
Yeah.
the quarterback for Miami, Cam Ward, I'm not going to throw at the combine. What?
That's what you do.
That's your job. You throw the football, and you're not going to do it at the combine because if I'm the NFL team and I was thinking about drafting Cam Ward, I'm not drafting Cam Ward. There's no way. If you don't think you can do it when all the lights are on,
can he run a 4.2 40?
He might be able to do that.
Yeah.
You want? Well, then come play wide receiver for me, and then you don't have to throw the football.
Well,
okay? Your good buddy from Boise State.
Yeah.
I believe he said that he wasn't going to do too much at the combine either. So what is he afraid of?
I'm not sure that. I think that this,
is he just going to go on his?
It used to be like you say it was a showcase. Now I think it's just a show.
Could be.
And it's an ESPN show, and they love running it, and they've been selling it now for a week and 10 days. So it's. I'm being serious here now. I'm not trying to be whatever, and I could be on this one, but I won't. What's JT? What is he afraid of? What is it that they're going to find out about him? Is it going to be that I run the 40 in 4.47? I mean, is that the flat out speed that? I don't know. I guess. We'll see what happens.
I'm very leery of players who come to the combine and say, "Oh, I'm coming to the combine, but I'm not going to do this for you." What? See you later. You're not. Go play for some other team.
And some teams are going to do that. I don't see that he could work that in with Dan Campbell at Detroit, or with the Vikings here either. I mean, you better either have it or you don't. And most of these coaches, they've been around. They know what these guys can do, and they can see what they happen now. In terms of my friend from Boise, I'm not sure that he is that out fast. I know that he's out quick, and so's Barkley. I don't know what his 40 is either. I imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure it was good. All right, you ready for the bracket?
Yeah.
For Class A hockey?
Sure.
The number 1 seed is Hibbing Chisholm. They take on number 8 Laverne at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. The number 2 seed is St. Cloud Cathedral. They take on number 7 Matamidi.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 Northfield takes on number 6 Orono.
What's going on down at Northfield? They're just amazing these days.
And number 4 East Grand Forks takes on Northern Lakes. You know who's the coach at Northern Lakes, don't you?
No.
Mike Randolph.
Oh, Mikey.
So there's your so Hibbing Chisholm plays at 6 o'clock on Wednesday night. Boy, am I going to have to change my travel plans?
I don't know, but Kevin, if you're listening, congratulations! The first year, and you got your boy in the shows. That's good.
Can I throw Kevin under the bus just slightly?
Anytime.
We had a phone conversation on Tuesday. He needed something from me that he said, I can't find it in my files. Do you have this? And I'm like, yeah, I think I can find it, and I did. Anyway, that's not the point of the story. I said, oh, I see you guys play War Road in the championship game. He goes, yeah, it's been pretty tough against War Road this year. He said, I'm not sure what to expect. He said it could be tough, and then they went in overtime. So that just goes to show you got to play the game, right?
Well, no, and the War Road girls lost in the championship game. And when was the last time you saw a War Road team not picking up some kind of medal and bringing it home?
They got second place.
yeah.
So they'd won the state championship 3 years in a row. They did not need to win it 4 years in a row. Sorry if you're a War Road fan and I'm stepping on your party. Nobody needs to win 4 in a row. 3 is plenty. You did your thing, and now you've got to share the wealth. So
that's kind of like the Falls.
Yeah. They only won 4 out of 5. You can't be so greedy, you guys. I don't think the 63 team would agree with that sentiment, and I don't want to get myself into trouble, but. They probably they lost in overtime in the state championship game. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? I mean, you were right there. You had a chance. That's all you can ask.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
Well, like I said, the madness continues.
It does. It is going to get nuts here in the next month. Basketball, hockey, wrestling. It's you got the Big Ten championships and then the NCAA's. It's just like I am going to heaven.
There's not enough TVs right now to get through. Last night, like I said, there were 3 hockey games and 2 basketball games that I wanted to watch, and there's only 2 TVs. I'm sorry, I'm probably gonna have to move. Maybe if I lived at a bar. Do you know any places where you can move into a bar?
No, but I thought about that. When I retired, I thought, why don't you just get yourself a nice little sports bar and you can sit down there and set up your office and watch your games. But my wife wouldn't let me do it. She said, you got a bar.
Enjoy the madness, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks.